He sat cross-legged on the living room carpet, camera in hand, ready to capture a moment that most fathers dream about, his baby's first word. It had been weeks of babbling and drooling, of incoherent syllables that meant nothing and everything all at once. But today felt different. His daughter, Amira, was looking at him with wide, gleaming eyes, her tiny lips twitching like they were forming something more than a sound. "Come on, sweetheart," he said softly, phone recording. "Say Dada." Just once. His wife, Sana, stood by the doorway, smiling, holding a sippy cup and pretending not to be as excited. They had waited long enough, read the blogs, asked the pediatrician, compared stories with friends. Today, the little girl seemed more alert than usual. There was something in the way she stared at him, intent, focused, like she had something to say. "Dada," he repeated again, encouragingly, scooting closer. The baby blinked once, tilted her head, then slowly, clearly, she said, "Adil." He froze. Sana's smile vanished so fast it was as if someone had turned off a light. She dropped the cup. It hit the floor with a thud. What did she say?" he asked, his voice low, unsure if he'd imagined it. Amira gurgled and giggled, her chubby fingers clapping, as if proud of her achievement. And then again, clearer this time, with a baby's odd rhythm, Adil. He looked at Sana, hoping she'd laugh, explain, say it was just a coincidence. But she didn't move. "Sana," he said more firmly, "did you hear that?" Yeah," she muttered, her voice shaking slightly. "It's nothing. Probably just a random sound. Babies do that." "No," he said, standing now, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. "That wasn't random. That was a name. A name I don't know. Do you?" She picked up the sippy cup, avoiding his eyes. "Babies pick up sounds from TV, the street, anywhere. Maybe we passed someone named that. Or, maybe your mom said it. You know how she talks to the gardener sometimes." "My mom doesn't know anyone named Adil," he snapped. "And neither do I." "But you do, don't you?" There it was, the flicker in her eyes, a small crack in her expression before she masked it again with a forced calm. "You're overreacting." "No, I'm not. Babies don't just invent specific names like that. Someone taught her that. Someone says it around her enough for it to stick." Sana moved to pick up a toy from the floor. Her fingers trembled. "It doesn't mean anything." But it did. That night, long after Amira had gone to sleep and the house was silent, he replayed the video over and over. Each time, it was clearer. Not gibberish. Not a fluke. A name. And not just any name, a stranger's name. One that had never been uttered in their home before. At least, not by him. He searched his mind, had he heard it in a TV show? Maybe a delivery man? A colleague? But nothing fit. The name felt foreign, out of place. And the look on Sana's face when she heard it, that wasn't confusion. That was recognition. And guilt. He sat at the edge of the bed, staring at her sleeping form. Or pretending to sleep. He couldn't tell anymore. Who was Adil? And more importantly, why did his daughter know his name? The silence between them stretched long into the evening. She had gone about her chores, wiping the high chair, folding the laundry, organizing toys, all with an eerie calmness. Too calm. Like she was clinging to routine just to hold herself together. But he saw through it. He stood in the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching her move with robotic precision. No nervous stammer. No laughter to lighten the moment. Not even denial. Just distance. "You're not going to say anything else about it?" he finally asked. She didn't look up from the laundry basket. "About what?" He walked closer, voice lowering. "About what Amira said. You know, Adil." She sighed, still not meeting his eyes. "We already talked about this." "No, Sana. I talked. You just acted like it was normal. Like hearing our baby say some random man's name was as ordinary as her saying ball or mama dot. Her hand stilled on a baby onesie. Slowly, she stood up, brushing invisible lint from her fingers. You're making this a thing it's not. It is a thing, he insisted, stepping in front of her now. You didn't even flinch when she said it. You didn't laugh. You didn't question it. You just froze, like someone pressed pause on you, then moved on like nothing happened. She looked away, jaw tightening. And there it was again. Not confusion. Fear. Her eyes darted briefly to the hallway, where Amira lay asleep in her crib. Then back to him. You're being paranoid, she said softly, but there was no weight in her words. He searched her face, the lines around her eyes, the slight tremble in her breath, the way she clutched her wedding band like it might anchor her. I know that name means something to you, he said gently now. Just tell me who he is. She hesitated. The truth was right there, behind her lips, behind her silence, but she wasn't ready to set it free. It's no one you need to worry about, she whispered, finally. Please just drop it. His brow furrowed. No one I need to worry about? Sana, how does that even make sense? You're telling me our baby's first word is some man's name that you do recognize, but I shouldn't worry? She sat on the edge of the couch, hands gripping her knees, still refusing to look up. It was a long time ago. Before you. Before this life. I never thought. I never imagined it would follow me here. He knelt in front of her, his voice low but urgent. Then explain it. Please. A long pause. Then, a crack in her wall. I knew an Adil when I was younger, she said, voice barely audible. He was someone I was involved with years ago. It ended badly. I don't even know where he is now. Then why would Amira say his name, he pressed. You'd have to have said it in front of her. Recently. I haven't, she snapped, finally looking at him, eyes wide, raw, afraid. I swear, I haven't spoken his name out loud in years. Then how, he whispered. How does a 1-year-old who can't even say mama suddenly know a name you buried in your past? She shook her head. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe she heard it on the TV or someone said it when I was distracted. No, he interrupted, standing slowly. She said it clearly. Twice. Not random. Not gibberish. Sana, are you hiding something? She looked away again. He watched her chest rise and fall in uneven rhythm. That fear in her eyes hadn't gone. In fact, it had deepened, like she was scared not of him, but of something else. Something bigger. Something closer than he realized. He didn't sleep much that night. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, while Sana curled into herself on the far edge of the bed. Her back was to him. She didn't move. Didn't speak. And he didn't ask again. But as he listened to the quiet hum of the baby monitor and the soft whir of the ceiling fan, one thought refused to let him rest. If she wasn't the one saying that name around the baby, then who was? And why did it feel like someone else had already made their way into his home, not through the door, but through the voice of a child who didn't yet know what secrets were? He tried to shake it off. Tried to tell himself it was a fluke. Just a strange coincidence. Maybe the baby had heard the name somewhere, maybe it wasn't even that name. But deep down, he knew better. Something was off. And the more he watched, the more he noticed the pattern. The name didn't just slip out once. It returned. And only under one condition, when Sana was alone with Amira. At first, he dismissed it. Babies repeat sounds, imitate words. But Amira was selective. She barely said mama, never even attempted dada again. But the name Adil, it came out like it had been carved into her memory. Adil, she whispered softly during diaper changes. Adil, she shouted, laughing in the bath while Sana washed her hair. Adil, she sang to herself when Sana rocked her to sleep. He watched from cracked doors, from corners of the hallway, pretending to scroll his phone while his ears stayed wide open. And every time, he saw the same thing, Sana's expression shift. Not annoyed. Not confused. Just unnerved. As if the word wasn't coming from the baby, but from the past, echoing back to haunt her. One afternoon, he decided to test it. He took Amira for a walk alone, pushing the stroller past the neighborhood park, humming to her, talking, laughing, everything. He waited, gently prompting, "Say something, princess, want to say dada?" She babbled a few sounds, mostly meaningless. Not even close to Adil. He repeated the name once. Adil? Nothing. She blinked at him, then looked away toward a bird flying overhead. No response. No hint of recognition. But the moment they returned home, and Sana picked her up, Amira threw her tiny arms around her neck and cooed, "Adil." His stomach dropped. He stood there, frozen, as Sana's smile faltered again, and she pulled Amira closer, whispering, "Shove, baby, not now." Not now? He felt it, that deep, gnawing sickness in his chest. Like something was unraveling. Like he was living in a home where the truth clung to the walls but refused to speak directly to him. That night, he placed a small recording device under the shelf in the nursery. Not out of malice, but out of desperation. He needed to know what was happening when he wasn't around. Needed to hear for himself if what he feared was true. And the next day, while Sana took Amira in for nap time, he left the room and waited. An hour later, he retrieved the recorder. Hands trembling. He sat in his car, parked just outside the house, and pressed play. At first, soft lullabies. Sana's voice humming. The rustle of a blanket. Then. "There you go, sweetheart, such a good girl." Silence. Then a small giggle. "Say it for mama. Come on, say it. You know who loves you?" Adil does, yes he does. His breath caught. "Can you say his name?" "Say Adil." And then the baby, almost gleefully, "Adil." He dropped the recorder. His hand trembled as he picked it up again, played it back. The words repeated. The encouragement. Her tone. Her voice. Sana was teaching the name. He didn't go back inside right away. He sat behind the wheel, staring at the dashboard, everything inside him spiraling. Who was this man to her, really? Why had she hidden this so deeply? And why would she involve their daughter? Back inside, she was in the kitchen again. Humming softly, chopping vegetables, as if the world hadn't just been flipped upside down. He walked in and watched her for a moment. She glanced up and smiled. "How was your walk?" she asked. He didn't answer. He stepped forward slowly, placed the recorder gently on the table, and pressed play. Her hand stopped mid-chop. Her smile disappeared. The audio played again, clear, undeniable. Her voice, soft and sweet, prompting their baby girl. And the name, repeated. By the end, Sana looked like she'd aged 5 years in 5 seconds. "I can explain," she whispered. "I don't want explanations," he said, barely able to keep the tremor out of his voice. "I want the truth. The full truth. No more half answers. No more dodging. I want to know who Adil is, why you're saying his name to our daughter, and what the hell is going on." Sana lowered the knife and took a shaky breath. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She just said 3 words that chilled him to the bone. "He found us." He didn't sleep that night. Even after Sana's chilling words, "He found us," she had said nothing more. Just curled up on the bed, silent, staring at the wall like her mind had drifted to another world. He waited for her to continue, to offer names, dates, facts, anything. But the silence grew heavier with each passing hour. So he got up. Sat at the dining table under the dim glow of a flickering bulb. The baby monitor hummed faintly beside him, the only sound in the house besides the pounding in his ears. He opened his laptop. Adil. Just a name. But names leave trails. He started with social media. Searched Adil, first name only, and filtered by city. Dozens popped up. Men smiling in selfies, flexing at gyms, posing in offices. None of them rang any bells. He narrowed it further: mutual friends, location tags, anything connected to Sanaa. Nothing obvious. Next, he pulled out their old photo albums, dusty ones buried in the living room cabinet, still untouched since their move to this new house 2 years ago. He flipped page by page, watching the years roll back. Their wedding. The honeymoon in Murray. Their first apartment. Sanaa holding Amira in the hospital. Then, something odd. A single photo. Stuck between the pages of a baby shower card. It was worn and slightly faded, not part of any album. Sanaa was in it. Younger. Her hair longer. Smiling in a way that didn't quite reach her eyes. And beside her was a man. Tall. Lean. A small scar above his right eyebrow. Hand resting too comfortably on her shoulder. They weren't just friends. That much was obvious. He turned the photo over. Written in smudged pen, Eid 2017, S&A. Always. A deal. His jaw clenched. The air felt colder. Why was this picture hidden? And why was it still here? His phone buzzed. A message from his cousin Bilal, a software technician who'd helped him in the past with sensitive data recovery. You sure you want me to dig through her old phone records, bro? This might go places you're not ready for. He stared at the message. Then typed back. Yes. I need everything. Numbers, texts, deleted messages, anything with the name Adil. While he waited, he opened Sanaa's old phone from the drawer. The one she said was too slow and had been replaced last year. He charged it, unlocked it using her birthday, she never changed her passcodes, and started scrolling. Most messages were clean. Generic. Friends. Family. Online orders. But deep in the deleted messages folder, buried months back, he found one thread that had been wiped, but not beyond recovery. The contact name was just A. The first message read. You really think you can erase me? You can't hide forever. The next. She looks just like you, Sanaa. Does he even know? His breath caught. Does he even know? Know what? He scrolled faster, messages from Sanaa pleading. Stop contacting me. Please. I have a family now. She's not yours. You lost your right the day you left me alone in that hospital. If you come near her again, I swear I'll tell him everything. He slammed the phone down. Hands shaking. The puzzle was forming its edges now, but the center was still a dark blur. Who was this man? Just an ex, or something more? And why had Sanaa hidden it until their baby, his baby, spoke his name? He opened Bilal's file when it came through an hour later. It wasn't just messages. It was call logs. Voice memos. Even a voicemail. He clicked play. You think he'll protect you? You think that child is safe with him? Sanaa, she's mine. She always will be. His blood ran cold. The voice was low, calculated, laced with menace. Adil wasn't just a name from the past. He was a presence. A shadow. A threat. He glanced down the hallway toward the nursery. Amira's soft breathing came through the baby monitor. He stared at the screen. Suddenly, nothing felt safe anymore. Not the house. Not the silence. Not the woman sleeping in his bed. Not even his own sense of identity. He stood, walked to the nursery, and opened the door gently. Amira lay curled under her blanket, thumb in mouth, peaceful and oblivious. But the weight of what he'd uncovered pressed hard on his chest. If Adil believed she was his. If Sanaa had lied about everything. Then what truth remained? And how long before this ghost from the past stopped lurking in messages, and came knocking in person? Morning light filtered through the curtains, soft and golden, but nothing about this day felt warm. He moved like a man walking on a cracking floor, cautious, calculating each step, unsure what would give way beneath him next. Sanaa was in the kitchen, pretending to hum while stirring porridge for Amira. But her voice wavered, like she too knew the truth was unraveling. He didn't speak to her. Not yet. Not until he had all of it. He entered the bedroom again. Closed the door. Quietly opened the second drawer of her dresser, the one she always pushed shut quickly, the one she never asked him to help organize. He sifted through scarves, old bangles, and lipstick tubes worn down to stubs. Then, beneath a faded maroon shawl, his fingers brushed the edge of something harder. A small leather pouch. His heart pounded. He slid it out slowly, hands trembling. Inside were a few things: old earrings, a silver keychain from her college days, a crumpled letter, and then, the photo. It was smaller than a postcard, printed on thick matte paper, folded once down the middle like it had been opened and closed 1,000 times. He unfolded it with care, almost dreading what he might see. There she was. Sanaa. Younger, radiant, full of life in a way he hadn't seen in years. Not since before Amira. Before marriage. Before everything changed. And beside her, him. The man he didn't know. The man whose name their daughter had somehow spoken. Adil. He had a presence. Not loud or flamboyant, but something about his eyes, the easy grip he had around Sanaa's waist, the way she leaned into him, it was unmistakable. They weren't friends. They weren't classmates. They were something. His throat tightened. There was no date on the back this time. No message. Just the photo, worn at the edges, as if it had been touched often, maybe even held close during restless nights. He sat down on the bed, trying to breathe through the panic. He had always believed he knew Sanaa, quiet, steady, a woman who rarely spoke of her past. But now, he was beginning to realize she hadn't left her past behind. She had simply buried it. And now, the earth was cracking open. He stared at the photo again. The location looked like a park, trees in the background, a bench with chipped paint, and a sign partially visible that read Shadman BLO, a neighborhood in Lahore, if memory served. So this wasn't just a fling from before marriage. This was before Peshawar. Before she moved cities. Before she reinvented herself. He slipped the photo into his wallet and left the room. When he entered the kitchen, she glanced at him, then quickly turned back to Amira, spooning mashed banana into her tiny mouth. "You're up early," she murmured. "I couldn't sleep." She nodded slowly, not meeting his eyes. "Me neither." He pulled out a chair, sat down. Placed the photo gently on the table, face up. Sanaa froze mid-motion. The spoon clinked against the bowl. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Everything her lips failed to say poured from her eyes, wide, trembling, watering. He leaned forward. "How long were you going to keep hiding him?" Her voice came out as a whisper. "I didn't want you to find that." "Obviously." Sanaa sat down, slowly, like her legs could no longer hold her. She looked at the photo like it was a ghost. Maybe it was. "I was young," she said finally. "Too young. And too stupid." He said nothing. "He wasn't kind," she continued. "Not the way I thought he was. It started out sweet, like something from a movie. He was charming. Protective. He said all the right things. And then..." Her voice cracked. And then he changed? She nodded. Possessive. Controlling. He didn't like my friends. Didn't like me working. And when I got pregnant, he told me to get rid of it. Said he wasn't ready. Said I tricked him. He blinked, stunned. You were pregnant with his child? Her hands went to her lap, clutching themselves tightly. I didn't go through with it. I left. Disappeared. Changed my number. Moved cities. I never told anyone. I wanted a new life. And me, he asked, voice sharp now. When we met, when we got married, when Amira was born, was any of that real? Or just part of the escape plan? Her eyes shot up. Don't you dare. Don't I dare? He pushed the chair back, standing, overwhelmed. My daughter, the one I raised, the one I sang to at night, says his name before mine. You kept this man a secret, hid photos, messages. Because I was scared, she interrupted, tears running freely now. Because he's not just a memory, he's a threat. And I thought if I ignored it, if I stayed quiet long enough, maybe it would all fade. But it didn't. He stared at her. At the broken woman in front of him. At the mother. At the liar. At the victim. I'm not sure what scares me more, he whispered. That he's back, or that you were going to wait until he knocked on our door before telling me. Sana didn't respond. But Amira did. She giggled softly, clapped her hands. And said it again. Adil. He needed clarity. And if Sana wasn't going to give him the full truth, maybe someone else would. He left the house that evening without a word. Just told Sana he needed some air. She didn't stop him. Didn't ask where he was going. She only nodded, her eyes heavy, haunted. He drove across town to the quiet, familiar neighborhood where his sister, Meher, lived. She'd always been the sharp one in the family, observant, a little too blunt sometimes, but fiercely protective. If there was even a shred of public gossip attached to this name, she would know. When he walked into her house, Amira's name was the first thing out of Meher's mouth. Where's my little niece, huh? She beamed, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She's home, he said. Asleep. Meher looked closer at him. You look like hell. He didn't argue. Tea, she offered. He shook his head. I need to ask you something. Her brow creased. Is everything okay? He sat down at the dining table and leaned in. His voice was low, tense. I want you to tell me if you've ever heard the name Adil before. Someone Sana might have known. The moment the name left his lips, Meher's entire face shifted. She went completely still. The warmth drained from her expression like someone had pulled a plug. Where did you hear that name? She asked, almost a whisper. His heart sank. You know him? She pulled out a chair and sat across from him, her fingers clenching the edge of the table. That name hasn't come up in years. Not since. God. Maybe 5, 6 years ago. Why are you asking about him? He leaned back, inhaled deeply. Because Amira said it. What? Her first word, he said bitterly. Not Mama. Not Dada. Adil. Clear as day. And not once, multiple times. Only when she's with Sana. Meher's face went pale. I confronted Sana. She admitted she knew him. That he was from her past. But now, he looked down. Now I think he might be something more. Meher shook her head, lips pressed into a tight line. I didn't know she was connected to him. Tell me everything. She hesitated. Then slowly began, like every word was loaded with weight. There were stories, she said. Adil wasn't just some ordinary guy. He used to be mixed up in bad circles. Drugs. Blackmail. There were even rumors about him being involved in a girl's disappearance, though nothing ever stuck. No one could prove anything. But in college, he had this charm. Some girls fell for it. Others were smart enough to stay away. His blood turned cold. And Sana? I never connected her to him. But I remember the day a girl, Sana's friend, I think, came crying into the girls' common room. She said Adil had threatened Sana. That she was trying to leave him, but he wasn't letting her go. No one knew what happened after that. It just faded. She left college not long after. He rubbed his face with both hands, trying to process it. All these years, he muttered, she's been hiding him. And now he's back. Somehow. Maybe never even left. Meher's voice was sharp now. If he's anywhere near her or your daughter, you need to act. I don't know what to do, he admitted. She says she left him. Says she thought he was gone for good. But the messages, the photo, the voice message. Meher, he thinks Amira is his. Meher's eyes widened in horror. Wait. Are you saying? I don't know if it's true. But the way Sana's acting, it's like she's terrified. And guilty. Like she's hiding a truth even she's afraid to say out loud. She reached across the table and grabbed his hand. You need to protect that baby. Whatever this is, it's bigger than a broken relationship. If Adil is even half the man people used to say he was, he won't stop at threats. I don't know where he is. I don't even know what he wants. He wants what he thinks is his, Meher said darkly. And if he believes Amira is his daughter. Her words hung there like poison in the air. He stood suddenly. I need to get home. Wait, Meher said quickly. Don't confront her again until you're sure. Let me ask around. Some of my old university friends might remember more. If Adil's been seen recently, someone will know. He nodded, grateful. But every second he stood there felt like one less second with Amira safely asleep in her crib. He drove home fast. Every streetlight flickering past felt like a warning. When he walked into the house, it was quiet. Too quiet. He moved quickly to the nursery. She was there. Sleeping. Safe. But the dread didn't leave his chest. Not anymore. Because now, even his own daughter's name, the sound of her innocent voice, felt like a whisper from a stranger. A stranger who knew too much. And was getting closer. He first noticed the man near the corner store, standing by the fruit stall, hands buried deep in the pockets of a worn-out brown jacket. There was nothing particularly suspicious about him, not at first glance, but something about the stillness, the way his eyes followed them, stuck in Daniel's mind like a splinter. The next time, it was outside the daycare. The man wasn't facing them this time. He stood with his back to the building, head slightly tilted down as if he were lost in thought. But when Daniel drove past, he caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror. The man's eyes were fixed directly on the baby in the back seat. And then came the moment that made Daniel's heart go cold. They were walking in the park, he and Julia, pushing the stroller, trying to act normal despite the storm silently building between them. Their daughter giggled, waving her small arms in delight at birds flying overhead. Daniel crouched down beside her, tickling her toes when she suddenly clapped her hands and called out joyfully, Azan. Daniel froze. Julia didn't move either. And then, as if on cue, the man appeared. Not too close. Not far either. Standing under the large oak tree, head low, face shadowed by the late afternoon sun. Daniel straightened, shielding the stroller with his body. Julia, he whispered without turning. He's here. Her breath caught. Where? Behind the oak. Do not look yet. But she looked. Of course she did. And when their eyes met, hers and the man's, Daniel saw something he hadn't seen before. Recognition. She knew him. The man didn't move. But a small smile crept across his face, soft, almost affectionate, and then he turned and disappeared into the trees. That evening, Daniel couldn't sit still. Every window in the house was locked and bolted. Every curtain drawn. He walked from room to room with a bat in his hand and a phone in his pocket. Julia watched him quietly, saying nothing, holding their daughter closer than usual. "Who is he?" Daniel finally asked, voice low, eyes fixed on her. "Tell me the truth." "I already told you." "No more lies, Julia. No more half-truths. The baby knows his name. You know him. And now he's following us." She looked like a ghost of herself. Pale. Tired. She stood up slowly and went into the bedroom. When she returned, she was holding a small envelope, yellowed at the edges, like it had been touched too many times. "This was mailed to me last year," she said, handing it over. "I never opened it. I recognized the handwriting." Daniel tore the envelope open. Inside was a single photo, the same man, holding a newborn. Their daughter. His knees gave out, and he dropped into the nearest chair. "This was taken in the hospital?" Julia nodded, tears threatening her voice. "He came while I was asleep. The nurse told me someone came in, said he was family. He must have held her." Daniel stared at the image. The man's expression was terrifyingly serene. Not the look of a stranger stealing a moment. The look of someone claiming what was his. "He's obsessed," Julia whispered. "Years ago, before I met you, he wanted something more than I could give. I left. I thought it was over. But he followed me for months, then he vanished. Until that letter." "And you didn't tell me?" "I was scared, Daniel. I didn't know if he'd come back. I thought maybe he moved on. But now he was back. Now their baby was saying his name." Daniel stood up, gripping the photo with white knuckles. "This ends now. I'm not letting some ghost from your past haunt this family." But as he said it, he felt a presence again, that same weight of being watched. He moved to the window and gently pulled the curtain back. There he was. Across the street. Standing still. The man raised a hand, not waving, just lifting it, like a silent claim. Julia stepped beside him and gasped. Their daughter, cradled in her arms, giggled again and called softly, "Azan." He came home earlier than usual that evening. The sky outside was dark with rain, but it was the silence inside the house that disturbed him most. No cartoons, no lullabies, not even the clink of dishes from the kitchen, just a still, oppressive quiet. He found her sitting on the edge of their bed, shoulders slumped forward, hands gripping the edge of the mattress like she was holding on to it to stop herself from unraveling. She didn't look up when he entered. "Where's the baby?" he asked, though his voice came out more like an accusation than a question. She glanced up at him, her eyes rimmed red. "Sleeping," she whispered. His chest tightened, anger and confusion dancing beneath his ribs. "You've been hiding something from me," he said, stepping closer. "Ever since he said that name, Aman, you've been off. Today, I saw him again. Outside. Watching our house." She flinched. "Tell me," he demanded, more firmly this time. And just like that, she cracked. She turned away from him, pressing her palm over her mouth as if the truth might escape too violently. Her shoulders trembled, and then she whispered, "I didn't think he'd ever come back." He froze. "So you do know him?" She nodded slowly. "Who is he?" His voice had dropped to a low growl now. "Why does our son know his name?" Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. Before us, I was with someone. Aman. He was charming in the beginning, like something out of a dream. But the dream turned dark, quickly. He was possessive, obsessive, the kind of man who smiled when he hurt you and said you made him do it. She paused, wiping her face with her sleeve. I tried to leave him, but he wouldn't let me go easily. He stalked me, threatened to ruin my life. I moved cities, changed my number. I thought he was out of my life for good. And yet, he said bitterly, our baby somehow knows his name. She looked away, ashamed. He messaged me once, a few months ago. I didn't reply. But I kept the phone, the messages. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared. Maybe part of me didn't want to erase it until I felt safe. And then, I think he started showing up. Around the neighborhood. He stared at her, stunned. And you didn't think to tell me? I was afraid, she sobbed. Afraid you'd think I invited him back. That you'd blame me. That you'd take our son and leave. I thought I could handle it alone, that if I ignored him, he'd give up. He took a step back, his world beginning to tilt. And the baby? Did you talk to him about Aman? No, she cried. Never. But Aman used to say his name over and over around me. Like it was his way of branding me. And I think, maybe when I was holding our son, maybe he heard me whisper his name in fear. I didn't mean to. I swear. He sat down on the edge of the bed, his hands running through his hair. 100 thoughts whirled in his head like a storm: betrayal, sorrow, fear, protectiveness. It wasn't just about her past now, it was about their future. About their baby, innocent and caught in the crossfire of secrets and shadows. You should have told me the moment he showed up, he said quietly. We could have done something. Reported him. Protected ourselves. She nodded miserably. I know. I was wrong. But I was so used to hiding, surviving on my own, I forgot I didn't have to anymore. There was a long silence between them. Is he dangerous? He finally asked. She hesitated. He's not someone who lets go easily. He stood up slowly. Then we're not waiting for him to make the next move. Her eyes widened. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to keep our son safe. His voice was cold now, calm, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. As he turned to leave the room, she grabbed his hand. Please, just don't do anything that'll get you hurt. He looked down at her hand, then at her face. I don't care what happens to me. But if he thinks he can haunt this family, he's about to learn what fear really feels like. She let go slowly, her breath shaky. Outside, their baby stirred in his crib, as if sensing the tension in the air. The name had been a whisper, a shadow, but now, it was a threat they couldn't ignore. And this time, he wouldn't run. He would face the ghost from her past. Even if it meant confronting the darkness head-on. He sat at the kitchen table, the photograph still in his hand, the edges worn from how many times he'd held it in the last 3 days. The man in the picture, standing too close to his wife, smiling too deeply, that man wasn't just a forgotten friend. He was someone who didn't belong in their life. And yet somehow, he did. Through the baby's mouth. Through the shadows outside the house. Through the fear in her eyes. She was in the living room now, rocking their son back and forth, humming a tune that didn't quite soothe either of them. He watched from the doorway, not with love, but with growing dread. The baby giggled again, that innocent laugh he used to find beautiful, now unsettling. And then it happened, again. That name. The same name. It slipped from the baby's lips like it was the only word he'd ever known. She stiffened instantly, as if each syllable scraped her raw inside. He stepped forward. Tell me. Now. Who is he? She didn't look up. Her eyes stayed locked on their baby, her lips trembling. You already know, she whispered. I don't, he snapped, louder than he intended. All I know is our son keeps saying a man's name I've never spoken in this house. And I keep seeing that man, in our street, near the park, outside the daycare. You think I haven't noticed? Her arms wrapped tighter around the child, almost like a shield. He shouldn't be here, she muttered. He wasn't supposed to find me. He took a step back. The floor under him felt unstable now, as if he were standing on ice about to crack. What do you mean, find you? She finally looked at him, eyes glassy, defeated. Before all this. I lived a different life. In another city. Another name, even. I was young, stupid, and in love with someone I thought could change. Her voice faltered. He was charming at first. That's how they always are. Kind, generous, but it was a mask. When I tried to leave, he made sure I regretted it. He didn't speak. He couldn't. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. She went on, her voice barely audible. I ran. Moved cities. Changed everything. I had friends help me disappear. I thought I was safe. Until the pregnancy. That was the one mistake. I went to a clinic once, just once, and I think that's how he found me. He stared at her in disbelief. You're telling me this man who's been hanging around, is your ex? And the baby? No, she said quickly. No. He's not the father. You are. I swear to you, there's no doubt. After I left him, I never went back. I never even spoke to him again. Then why is the baby saying his name? Her silence was louder than any answer. And then, reluctantly, she said, because he's been here. His breath caught. What do you mean, here? She lowered her eyes. I didn't want to tell you. I was scared you'd think I let him in. But one day, a few months ago, when you were on that work trip, I came home and he was sitting inside. Like he owned the place. He said he missed me. Said he wanted to see his family again. He thinks the baby is his, he whispered, horrified. She nodded, tears now running down her cheeks. I told him to leave. I begged him. He said if I ever called the police, he'd take the baby. Not just physically, he'd make the law believe he had a right. He knows how to twist things, how to fake kindness in courtrooms. That's what he does. He couldn't breathe. The room was spinning now. All this time, the fear he felt wasn't imagined. The stranger, the name, the photo, it all pointed to something much darker than jealousy or mistrust. This wasn't about lies anymore. This was about survival. And you didn't think to tell me, he asked, voice breaking. You let this man come near our child and you didn't tell me? She sobbed now, the baby fussing in her arms. I thought I could protect you. I thought I could protect him. I didn't want to destroy this, the life we built. I thought he'd go away if I ignored him. But he's not going anywhere. Not now. Outside, a car slowed near the curb. His head snapped toward the window. For a second, he thought it might be him again, watching, waiting. The air inside the house turned cold, thick with uncertainty. He turned to her one last time. This ends tonight. One way or another. We either run, or we fight. And deep in the baby's innocent eyes, he saw no clue, just a reflection of everything they were about to lose. The house was silent, save for the faint sound of the baby breathing in her sleep. He sat at the edge of the bed, fingers locked together, staring at the door. It was past midnight, but he couldn't sleep. Not tonight. Not after what he now knew. Down the hallway, she stood at the nursery door, watching their child. The soft glow of the nightlight cast a faint halo around her, but he no longer saw her as he once did. Not just his wife. Not just the mother of his child. Now she was something else, someone wrapped in shadows, secrets, and a name that haunted them both. He finally broke the silence. Is it true? Everything you said? She didn't turn around. I told you what I could. He stood. No. You told me what you wanted me to hear. Her hands clenched the edge of the doorframe. What do you want me to say? That I lied? That I should have told you when I found out I was pregnant? That I didn't think it would follow me this far? He stepped closer, his voice low but heavy. You said you didn't expect him to come back. But our daughter knows his name. She says it like she's been saying it forever. Now she turned, her eyes wet but defiant. Because I whispered it in my sleep. Because I kept seeing him in my dreams. Because I was scared, and that fear, it seeped into everything. He stared at her. So you didn't teach her? No, she said firmly. I would never. A car rolled past outside. His head snapped toward the window. The street was empty. Still, his gut clenched. Every sound felt like a warning. She reached out to him, he whispered. Our baby. Like she recognized him. Her breath caught. She never met him. She couldn't have. But she did, he said. That night. He was outside. Watching. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He wants her. And what about you, he asked. Did you ever tell him she existed? She hesitated for half a breath too long. I thought I was protecting her, she snapped. I ran. I changed my name. I cut every tie to my past. I thought if I erased everything, I could start over. He took a slow, steadying breath. You should have told me. I didn't know how, she said. How do you tell someone that the man who once loved you turned into something else? That he controlled me, hurt me, tracked me, that he threatened to take everything if I left? He said nothing. Not for a long moment. And then the sound came, soft at first. A knock at the front door. They both froze. It came again. 3 slow, steady knocks. He moved first, motioning her back. She scooped up the baby and stepped into the hallway, clutching her daughter tightly. He grabbed the bat from behind the kitchen door. His heart pounded so loud he barely heard his own breath. He looked through the peephole. Nothing. Then, a whisper through the wood. Let me see her. His blood went cold. He didn't open the door. You have no right, he said through clenched teeth. A soft chuckle. I have every right. She's mine. She's not. I loved her mother once. She loved me, too. Then why did she run? The voice darkened. Ask her. He didn't respond. Didn't move. Just stared through the door, his entire body braced like a shield. She doesn't belong to you, the voice said. Neither of them do. There was silence. Then footsteps fading down the steps. He waited, holding his breath. More silence. Then the night reclaimed its stillness. She emerged, pale, eyes wide. Is he gone? For now, he said. What do we do? He looked at her. The weight of it all in his chest, her lies, his love, the child between them. He could run. Take the baby and disappear. Or believe that she had done what she did to protect them both. That she had suffered enough. That this wasn't just her burden, it was his now, too. He spoke slowly. We stay. But we don't hide anymore. She blinked. You believe me? I don't know, he said honestly. But I believe in her. And she needs both of us. Tears filled her eyes. He won't stop. Then we don't let him win. She took his hand. It trembled in hers, but she didn't let go. In the nursery, their baby stirred, murmuring the name again. But this time, he whispered a new name to her. Her real name. The one he would protect with everything he had. And in that moment, the man outside might have been real, or just a ghost from a past they had to face. But one thing was certain. The door was locked. And this time, he wasn't afraid to stand between them and whatever darkness came next.